To me, it was an innocent life. It was certainly some of sheltered. I would say because it was all about the dirt roads and staying on your street most of the time, running up and down the street, playing on dirt roads. And then I feel like because one side of my family was really in Marlin and the other side was like in Tomlinson Hill. And so that long road that led to both of them, Tomlinson Hill and Marlin, I felt like most of my life was spent running up and down that little highway, about 5-10 mile highway, the whole time. But certainly I think it was a peaceful life, a life of, I think of humbleness, I think of integrity, pride, all those things that you learn, I think, growing up from the people that helped raise you. People always say it takes a village to raise a kid. I certainly think that was the truth growing up in a town like Marlin. When I think about just the neighbors, that you had, like everybody knew each other. Everyone knew each other. Everyone knew and had respect for one another, I should say. And here's the thing, I remember not really having to lock your door. Your door was wide open for anybody who wanted to come in. If we were eating dinner and you needed a place to come eat dinner, then you were invited to our table. The amount of love and giving that was displayed growing up, from Marlin, that's what stood out to me. Also, just a genuine, I keep going back to the pride thing because that's what I knew. I remember, going to the high school football games at Marlin High School to watch my older cousin play. And you think about Marlin pride, that's what stood out because the fans were full. The town like shut down, and everybody came out to the game, and it was just a great time. That's what I remember most. Yeah, it was a great experience. It came, I think, at the right time, in my life, because being raised there, for the early part of my life and then leaving and going to Waco, but then coming back at the start of my high school career as a freshman, it was what I needed because also I had an older cousin who was a senior. So I was able to really get acclimated to high school through him and also just kind of learn who I was at that time. My experiences that I went through playing on varsity as a freshman, playing basketball and baseball and football all at a young age on varsity against kids that were 17, 18 years old. And so I think, the first thing it taught me was how to be selfless. A lot of kids, I think these days, if they're talented, you kind of get walked through the process. You kind of get given everything that you want. And you get spoon-fed a lot of information and you get spoiled, I should say. But for me, going through that experience, it taught me a lot about who I was, but also how to be selfless and how to sacrifice for someone else. Because I wanted to be the starter, but yet I knew that, Toby was the main guy, at that time. He was a dog, as football players would say. But sitting back and watching and learning a lot, I think that was the best thing for me at that time.
So in other words, you believe that it was a blessing in disguise, so to speak?
No question, because I believe if I would have, say I would have went to another high school and played with my freshman class and obviously probably would have been the star of my freshman class, then, it's just a different, I would say feeling that you have or a different attitude that you might have going into your sophomore season. I went into my sophomore season with the feeling of being humble and respectful, other than being cocky and arrogant, if that makes sense. So it was a blessing in disguise. Don't worry about what it looks like. You know, don't give up on the dreams that you have. You never know what God has planned for you, even though you can't see it. You know, God has the unbelievable, obviously unbelievable ability to see things before we even know they're going to happen. And so, don't give up on your dreams, but also continue to believe in yourself. Believe who you are. Going back to that situation, you know, here's I think one of the most critical things I learned in my life. Not playing the position that I wanted to play was, for me, was heartbreaking at first. You know, when I thought about it, I said, man, you know what? I thought about quitting at that time when I didn't get to play the position I wanted to play. You know, but after talking to my mother and friends and, you know, close family members, I realized that it was all about the love that you have for something, about the passion that you have for something. And if that is true, if you love something and have passion for it, then you're willing to go through whatever it takes to come out on the other side. And so I stuck with it. If I would have quit, I wouldn't be sitting here today as who I am, obviously. And so I think back on that. And if you're in the same type of situation, I just tell you, you know, don't give up on your dreams. Continue to have goals. Continue to strive to be great every single day. And every single day you wake up, have a purpose. You know, there's an old saying that I like to say, you know, on one side of Africa, every morning a lion wakes up running. In Africa, on the other side of Africa, a gazelle wakes up running. So it doesn't matter if you're the lion or the gazelle, you better wake up running. That just means you're either chasing something or you're getting chased, but you better run. Marlin, I love you.